I'm going to show how to set up the Cosmos DB so that you can run the source code located at Marc Talcott Event Sourcing Core, which is a sample application to show you a little bit about how to use CQRS and event sourcing using .NET. So this is I think it's a .NET 5.0 core project, and it uses Cosmos DB as a backend, and Cosmos DB is a NoSQL database by Microsoft. So you'll need an Azure account. So I'm assuming you have an Azure account created. Once you're in your Azure account, you go to the Azure Cosmos DB blade and click create to create a new DB. You can use an existing resource group or create a new one, and I already have one. I'm going to use ES test resource, event source test resource, and I'm going to name this instance ES demo DB. Make sure that it's core SQL. It should be by default. Select whichever location you like, and I leave everything else as defaults. So the important things were, you need a resource group, which you can create on the fly. Give it a name, make sure that it is core SQL, and any location is fine, and click review and create. Okay, and that validates, so now I can click create. This process takes about 2 minutes probably, and I don't know how to fast forward this, so you can fast forward the video, or you can just hang out and wait until it gets there. We're waiting for one more thing to pop up on the screen to show that it's done. Okay, so now our database account is created, so we can go to that. You can also get there by going to the blade item over here, and ESDemoDB is the account. It's still creating, so we'll give it a second. And we can see up here that it's still creating. Actually, that's still deleting on my old account. I'm trying to delete this one. So let's get rid of that. Let's see if this is done. It looks complete now. So we come into this account and we need to click on Data Explorer. It will have a default database already. Oh, I lied. It won't have a default database. You may see one there called To-Do List. So if it's there, you can delete it. I'm going to create a new database in here, which I'm just going to call ESDemo. And we'll leave it at the 400 RUs. And RUs are the units of, it's like the capacity for the database. Read units or request units. So 400 is the smallest and least expensive. So this will be $23.36 a month. Okay, so now our database is created, and we need to create containers in our database. And for this project, we need 3 containers. We need one to store the events, one called leases, which will be used by a change feed, and one called views, which will get populated with the output views or your read-only views. So events is your write database, and views is your read database. So we'll create those. We're going to use that database, and the container, it will be events. You can name it what you like, but you would have to change names in the config file, so probably just leave it as events the first time you do this. Events needs a partition key of stream ID. and leave everything else the way it is. Alright, we'll create one more new container called leases. This is for our change feed. The partition key is ID. Save that. And we can see these getting created here. And I'm going to go ahead and create a new one. Now leases is there. We'll create the last one, which is views. And it also is ID on the partition key. We're almost there. After we get these created, the last thing we need to do is to go into the source project, and in easily event store, we need to grab some code from here, which is a stored procedure. So in event store./js, there's a stored procedure here that we're going to put into our events database. So copy that and go back to your database. Let me close this window. We want to go to the events database, so make sure you highlight that and then click new stored procedure. Replace that sample one with the one you copied, and just copy this name, put it in this box. Okay, so we're going to save that. Okay, so it shows up there. So now we've got the events container and that stored procedure. We'll look at the events has got the partition key of stream.id. That's correct. Leases should have just ID. Correct. And views should have just ID. That's correct. Okay. So that's it for setting up the database, and I'll make another video for other parts of this. Thanks.